Oh, that was quick. I usually used to the longer one. Greetings and welcome back once again. This is Amuna. Let me go ahead and play the intro, shall we? We're going to have a quick little conversation as we wind down to my day of rest. But hold on one second. All right. That 30 seconds went really quickly. I pray everybody is doing well. This is Amuna Israel. Thank you for tuning in. As we wind down, we change gears a little bit. Sometimes we look outside, sometimes we look inside. This thought was on my mind for a while because I also am an author. So usually, like, when I don't have time to sit down and write, like, storylines go through my mind, right? And so I was thinking in recent times about stolen destiny and how it happens and what it looked like, and is it even possible, uh, and how can we deal with it if perchance this may become our reality. And I was looking around in the Torah to see whether or not I see anything that can speak to this conversation. So for those who subscribe to the narrative of the Bible, there's so much there. There's so much information to be gleaned, knowledge. There's so many situations that happen that are less than perfect. It shows us that the world we're living in, however be it less than perfect, mirrors the very things that were being recorded for us to look at. It really depends on who's teaching you and what's the purpose of them teaching you. So on this stolen destiny, I was starting to think about why people steal, right? First of all, that's just where my mind is. You guys let me know where your mind goes. But I was thinking about why people steal and why would they want something that belongs to somebody else. And part of what I came up with is that they may feel entitled to that which someone else has, right? So that comes with the covet, do not covet, which is the 10th commandment. Because when you covet and you desire and you bring close to your mind and your heart that which somebody else has, it may lead you to do some unscrupulous type things to get that thing that you feel you're owed, right? There are two words that some people use interchangeably, but according to my research, they're a little bit different. So one being jealousy and the other being envy, right? And jealousy is thought that you have the right. Yep, Jacob and Esau. What's going on, sweetie? Exactly. I have to get on the other side to give you a wrench, sis. But when I get on the other side, I'm gonna give you a wrench as well. But Jacob and Esau, you're absolutely right. Before we get to them, it's a thought of having something that somebody having something that you may feel you're entitled to. So basically, jealousy is you think you're entitled to it. So somebody may be jealous or covetous over their wife, over their land, over their husband, over their children, something that you have a right to. Envy is, from what I've studied, and I could, have some more learning to do. Envy is you being envious of something or someone that you don't have a right to that. So you don't have a direct connection to it, but you have an envy for that possession or that relationship. And these two things, sometimes in this day and age, we use them interchangeably, but one, the person asserts they have a right, and the other, the person does not have a right to that thing or that person or whatever it is you're jealous and envious about. In this crazy world that we're living in, people use these very strong emotions to move towards, or move people rather towards things, purchases, cars, clothes, jewelry, whatever it is. They stir up within us either jealousy or envy so that we can be more inclined towards going to and getting that thing, whatever it may be. Usually it's material. In other spaces, it may be relationships, it may be status, it may be a whole lot of stuff. So as VT said, in the case of stolen destiny, when I was looking and thinking about Esau and Jacob, in that situation, it was a thought of, I am closely related to this person. They're brothers, they're twin brothers. And this person has or is being treated in the way that I should be treated, right? This person has something that I desire that actually should be mine. You see this with siblings. You see this with family members, where one family member may feel as though the relationship that the person has should be theirs because they feel as though they're on better standing or ground than the other person, and therefore they don't deserve. Usually, when people have these conversations, it's a way in which they put themselves in a position to deserve what the other person has, and that other person is not worthy. I'm just looking at the mechanics of what would push a person to try to take that which is not theirs, or take that which does not belong. We know in the case of Jacob and Esau, it was spoken about that the older shall serve the younger, right? And this is a case of pushing the hand of time quicker, pushing the hand of the creator to get what you want more expeditiously. And usually when we go about it in certain ways, we are going to cause more harm because we're going to use our limited human mind to try to map out a way to get what we feel that we're owed. I know usually these type of conversations, which for those who may be new, welcome, this is Zamuna. These are the type of conversations I'm known for having. In recent times, I've branched out to have conversations about what's going on in current times and what's going on in the YouTube streets, but conversations that are centered around self-growth, self-analysis, reflection, what I call soulonomics, is where my heart and soul lies. But I find that people seem to be more interested in what's going on with somebody else's life than what's going on with their own. But as I wind down today, I just wanted to talk a little bit about stolen destiny. Is it possible? And what happens as a result, right? So I'll continue to use Esau and Jacob. It didn't come without consequence. So his mother convinces him that this is supposed to be, which it was supposed to be, not necessarily in the way. We don't know how it would have went if they allowed it to unfold naturally, right? But because of human intervention, it came with a whole lot of consequences. So for instance, something I observed was that Jacob was the elder and Leah was the elder. So in a lot of places in antiquity, the elder would marry first. So Jacob kind of spiritually takes the place of his brother, and therefore, if that was his brother, he would have married Leah because Leah would have been the first one, right? So now Jacob wants the one who would have been his mate or his match, but because he took the place spiritually of his brother, now he gets to get the one who was his brother's match. So taking or trying to steal or trying to put yourself in front of somebody or usurp somebody else's destiny, it, like I'm saying, it doesn't come without consequence. Now, how does that relate to today's space and time? Because some people might be like, Amuna, that was a long time ago. That was a very long time ago. In today's space and time, sometimes when we're growing, there is a goal for us. There is a course that may have been set for us, but there are things that come along, people that come along, circumstances that come along, situations that come along. It doesn't necessarily have to be a person that usurps or derails that person from going on the path that they were going to meet their destiny, right? Whatever they were destined to come, whatever you came into earth, whatever you incarnated for, right? There's things and people and entities and energies that will try to throw you off that path so that you never get to your destination. And I'm just thinking, I don't have all the answers of why that is. You know what I mean? It's like in the video game creator said that, hey, I need you to get to this castle to save the princess, but I'm also going to create, these Goombas. I'm also going to create, this hole for you to drop in. I'm also going to create all of these other things that's going to challenge you along the way and possibly stop you from reaching your goal. It's wild. It's crazy to think about. So I ask, how many of us in today's space and time feel as though, it may not be necessarily true, but we feel as though our destiny has been usurped, or we feel as though we have not lived up to what we initially thought that we could do when we were young, right? We just having a little soul talk. John, welcome to the conversation. Y'all shout out to John. He be coming back. So I'm not talking about anyone specifically. I'm talking about the us the person, the individual. How are we on our path? Are we allowing others to invest or derail us from our true destiny because we stop along the way to indulge certain things that are not productive, that are not conducive to where it is we're trying to go? Coveting someone else's life, but not their journey. Yeah. And it's, yeah, exactly. There are people out there who may see other people in a place, like you said, Sweet Tea, coveting their, what you think is their life, where you think is their relationship, what you think are their achievements, right? But not understanding that their destination may be totally different from your destination. What they were charged to do and be and become may not be what it is that you are charged to be and do and become. And then sometimes it's not even an outside entity that's stealing our destiny. It's us. It's that lower self. It's that negative mind. It's the karmic debt, like we spoke about the other day. It's hot outside today, y'all. I'm sitting out in the car and it's like 7 o'clock out here and it's still hot. Another example was the man who was supposed to go and give a message. And the instruction was for him not to go the same way, right? And because this man presented himself, I'm talking about a biblical narrative, as also an authority, he stole to a certain degree the destiny of the prophet because he lied to him, he misled him, he put him on a path that was contrary to where he was supposed to go. So sometimes because we doubt the mission, because we believe the wrong people, because we get into the wrong relationships, we allow others to rob from us. It's like if you're a business owner and you hire the wrong people. For instance, I'll give a real example. Marcus Garvey. Marcus Garvey had an aim. He had a desire. This is where I wanted to go, back to Africa, this, that, and the third. But they said one of the issues with Marcus Garvey is that he did not necessarily vet the people. He hired the wrong people, right? You have business owners who have this overall aim, but they hire the wrong people. The people who come on board, your friends, your family, your acquaintances, your associates, whoever they may be, your children, who knows, your mate, your spouse, they come on board and they're not really there. They're really there to kind of be on the inside so that they can derail you and usurp your destiny by ill-advising you or sabotaging the mission, right? And it's sad to say, but this is the reality. And if we allow it, like say you hire the accountant and then the accountant is robbing you, but you don't know because you trust the accountant. Right? So they're skimming off the top or they're doing whatever, some type of nefarious activities. And because you trust the accountant, it wouldn't enter your mind that you are, through your lack of ability to be present, allowing somebody to rob you. Like MC Hammer, right? We have all of these really present, you watch Behind the Music or you watch, what's the next name of the show? Unsung. You will see all of these stories about all of these actors and all of these musicians who had all of this talent. And they were destined for greatness, but now they're working in certain places that we, the people, are like, well, how did you end up working there? Somebody robbed you, like in the story of TLC. Sometimes we're so excited for a thing. We're so excited for the thing that we don't take the time to calm down and say, let me look at this. Let me exercise some caution. Let me do whatever it takes, right, to make sure that this is a good fit for myself and whoever else is involved. So oftentimes when the artist is young and they're new and they're excited and they just want to get in there, they're not thinking about what's about to come behind them. They're not thinking about what you're about to sign away. They're just thinking about the now. And this is how Jacob was able to usurp Esau, because Esau wasn't thinking about the future. He was thinking about the now. And so when you think about the now and you're just in survival mode, when you get that piece of bread or when you get that pottage soup or when you get that money you think you're looking for and you look down the lane and you're like, wow, I sold myself short. We allowed the person to steal our destiny. So is the case with, I know y'all, I'm not talking about people today. We're talking about ourselves, because if we don't grow individually, then there's a saying, I think who they said say it, about different types of people who talk about different type of things. Some people talk about people, other people talk about events, and other people talk about ideas. It's all levels to this, right? So yeah, it's good to talk about current events and what's happening. But if we don't at some point step back and say, okay, how do I play into this? What position am I in? Why am I resonating? Do I get some type of joy and satisfaction for seeing other people fall, or other people? Like, we really have to assess ourselves at some point in time. So they can't infiltrate our business and undercut our work like the Cardi B, Nicki Minaj, and Akon. Who? Hear me? Who, John? Yeah, I mean, my point being, it has been done so many times. It baffles me that in today's space and time, people could still have the same conversation that Sam Cooke had, or the same conversation that Stevie Wonder had. Like, the playbook hasn't changed, right? Somebody sees your value, they're gonna want to get more for less. They're gonna try to a certain degree, usurp your destiny if you are not vigilant, if you're not aware, like Prince or Michael Jackson and all of these other examples that we have of what happened, like Tupac. All these are just visual examples of what happens when people come in to say, I see this person is destined for greatness, right? I see this patient is on their way. And instead of helping them genuinely, the person comes to take over and kind of steal what rightfully belongs to that individual. It happens every day. So what are we going to do about it? If it does happen, where are we in the story? Are we the exploiter, or are we the exploited? Are we the one that's vigilant? Are we the one with foresight? What is the mechanism that allows us, and I spoke a little bit about it, that allows us to be okay when we're in that position? And what does it look like when we try to negotiate our way out of it? Like in the case of Prince, when he wrote Slave on his face. This is him realizing that he's in a compromise. And what's up, babe? Yes. You want me to come and share it? Okay, I'm coming now. Oh, I got to share that food. This is Wind Down, Amuna. When Prince realizing that they have him in a compromising position, yeah, he comes out with Slave on his face. He comes out with the artist formerly known as. Why? Because somebody owned you. They tried to own your essence. They tried to own your soul. They tried to steal your destiny. And that's deep because it happens so often. But that's why we call them sellouts. They betray Black folk as a collective for self-interest. And what is that mechanism? Yes, I agree. People sell out, right? And so we define, like you defined that, John. And what is that mechanism? Where does a person have to be to become a sellout? There's some people right now on YouTube that many people are accusing of being a sellout. When they came out, they was for the community, they was banging, and they should remain nameless. And now they have money and they feel like they got where they're going. And people's like, whoa, hold on. Who's this? Who's this person? You know what I'm saying? They flipped it on you. So what is that? And if we're not cognizant of that, even somebody who be hyper, super duper conscious and aware, now when this test comes in, that's why I say spiritual growth is very important. When this test comes in, almost 9 times out of 10, we fail. The people fail. Because here comes the test. Are you going to get rich and switch? Are you going to get put on and forget where you came from? And when the people like, nah, I never do that. I'm down with you, da, da, da. And as soon as you get to be going, bop, they do it. And they be like, the ego got them. They got demons. You know what I mean? All of this conversation starts to come in. And at the end, after that system, after that energy consumes you, it just spits you out. And you see them slinking back to the community. You see them trying to find a space to fit in where they no longer fit in. You see all of this happening because it's a cycle. If you're going to sell out, that means you're empty. And once the person who you sell out to, or the person who stole your destiny, has used you fully, it doesn't even have to be the entertainment industry, wherever and whatever, whether it's YouTube fame, people looking for, I don't know how you sell out for YouTube fame. That's just ridiculous. But whatever it is, And then when that cycle is done, you're empty. Because what did you sell? You sold your soul. Yeah, they're infamous. They're infamous, John. Those slave contracts are infamous. I mean, name a person who didn't say, from Nas to, name a person who didn't say, oops. You know what I mean? I did it again. Name a person who didn't have to say, oops, that wasn't a good look. And I'm like, well, how many times does somebody fall in this hole? But like we listened to the Iceberg Slim guy yesterday, the thought is that won't be me. That won't happen to me. I'm smarter than that. That's the ego, that we can see 100 people fall in the hole, but all of a sudden we got superpowers to be able to jump over the hole. And it hasn't changed. I'm going to use material possessions. The person is going to use material possessions, and they're going to find whatever your vice is. It's not just for music, it's for life, right? If you're in a relationship and the person wants to kind of usurp your destiny or where it is you're going, they're going to use whatever your weakness is, wherever they can exploit you, and they're going to use it. How aware of that are we? Are we the ones that let it happen and then come and complain? Or are we the ones who are proactive about it? This is just talking. Welcome to those who just joined us. Hold on, let me see. I know this is the part of the conversation where it usually does get quiet because it causes us to reflect. There's this conversation now about empaths, where people who are empathic, which I fall more on that spectrum, now use being an empath not to necessarily take personal responsibility for allowing people to dump in your space, for allowing people to manipulate you. At some point, yes, you identify as the aggressor or the receiver or whatever. And then at another point, you heal that part of you so that you can be more balanced in your dealings, so that you can be more vested in your interest as well as other people's interests. So you can find balance in this conversation. There's a whole ton of videos all over YouTube about empaths and narcissists. And I think it's a whole nother cycle of, I've labeled it, I've identified it, and this explains it all. For those who just joined us, welcome to the conversation. I'm not going to stay long, but that's just some thoughts. Again, it's there. We've seen it throughout history. You may have a friend who, that friend comes with energy. That friend may have been into a whole lot of stuff before you met the friend. Yeah. Next thing you know, you hanging out with this friend. That means you're in like a spiritual contract with this individual, and you moving with this person. What coming for the person, if you're present, may also be something that you experience because you're in close proximity to this person. These are also some of the things, that's why they call it innocent bystander, right? I remember when I was younger, I wasn't the one. I had friends who were like, oh, a fight, I'm running to it. I'm like, yo, I'll see y'all back at the spot. I am not running to a fight. It's not my fight. What is this, WWF? I'm not running to a fight. It's not my fight. There's such thing called an innocent bystander. And I could go run up to the fight and then I catch what's not mine to catch, right? And somebody else, I'm switching energy with somebody else's destiny and I'm in their way and I get caught with it. I'm not, so when I don't run to fights, I don't think it's exciting personally, you know what I mean? But again, there's certain things we do and certain mentalities that we may have that may have been or continue to hamper us or hinder us. And if you're destined, like anything of value, if it's just unguarded, if you don't do the things that you need to do, and I'm gonna wrap it up. If you don't do the things that you need to do to protect yourself, and what it is that the creator has for you, whatever has been implanted in you as the person to bring to the world, and you just leave your valuables just hanging out, laying out, and be like, hey, somebody came and stole my stuff. It's because you let them. You let them. You let them come and steal your stuff because you didn't do what you needed to do so that you can allow it to come to fruition and that you could deliver it to the world. That was just on my mind. I think I'm gonna write a story like that. In the Nigerian movies, they call it stealing your star. And when I first heard that terminology, I was like, that's weird, right? And I know I haven't talked about Nigerian movies in a while. Shout out to LF. LF said, Amuna, on the video about a pimp named Slit Rack. He says, usually when I'm talking about divorce court or one of them shows, he's like, here she go again. But I try to get wisdom from anywhere. And so I'm off of my Nigerian movies right now because they take a lot out of me because they're just so complex. They suck you in. So I have my time when I watch and my time when I don't. So right now I'm not watching. But when I am watching, there's this whole African spiritual concept of somebody stealing your destiny, some Jacob and Esau type stuff, where somebody can see your star, quote unquote, or see where it is that you're going and put themselves in a position where they can wrestle it away from you to a certain degree. What do you think about destiny versus one's purpose, trying to grasp all the depth of the conversation? I think they're intertwined. Your destiny is where you're supposed to be going, where you're destined to be, right? So they ask, where's your destination? So you go on the airplane, your destination is California or Texas or New York or Florida. Your purpose is why are you going there, right? So you can be destined to go somewhere, and then the purpose, that's why I say I think they're intertwined. And then the purpose of you going there is what? So some people have a destiny and they be like, I'm destined to sing. And then the question is, why? What are you singing for? Are you singing to deliver a message? Are you singing to make people feel good? Are you singing to what? Why are you doing what you're doing? And together they make sense. So we all have some place that we were born or something that we were born to do and contribute. How do we know this? Because we look in creation. Everything has latent within it the potential to be what it was designed to be. Right. So the seed of the apple tree, the seed of the wild blueberry bush, all of this has within it what it was designed to be. But the destination may be like, nope, somebody got that seed and never planted it. So it never manifested. Right. But it already had its purpose already designed within it. So some people may be like, yo, if I plant this tree, it's going to get real big. It's going to have fruits. And they may try to usurp that. So they lock a seed in a box and never plant it. I think they found, like in Egypt, an old vessel, if I'm not mistaken. It was like they found an old vessel of grain and they planted like this thousands of year old grain and it sprouted. Right? Which is cool. It's crazy. I like watching crazy stuff like that, but it's crazy. So if we look at the way the creator made nature, then we could kind of, to a certain degree, understand ourselves because we are part of nature. So in the same way, different trees and different seeds have different properties and vitamins and minerals and purposes. One is a shade tree, one is a fruit tree, one is a male, one is a female. Well, all of these different things, we can understand that sometimes we want everybody to do what we're doing. But the reality is they wasn't made to do what you do. You was made to do what you do. Hopefully that helped. Hopefully that helped. John says, you asked what are the methods that sellouts use to undermine Black progress? They can do anything from murder, that's true, to theft, make a policy that doesn't benefit Black people, or not approving reparations. Very interesting and very insightful thoughts. Yes, these are some of the things that people who don't value, they sell out. If you sell out your business, you no longer value your business. You want to cash out and you want the benefits of doing so. So there are many people who are willing to sell out in this way because the benefits that they stand to gain is way more that they feel that they're getting in present time. But at the end of the day, the communities that they end up going to or the places that they end up inhabiting may not be as fulfilling, because the real talk is material possessions when it's all said and done, they're not going to fill that empty spot. This is what you see oftentimes the manager is trying to speak to. It's not that I don't understand what they're saying. I just don't agree with the way they're saying it and some of the things that they're saying. But they're basically what they're saying is the materialism that many times a lot of women felt would replace the companionship or the relationship with the man, that it's not going to suffice. It's not going to be enough. to fill that void. So basically reducing anyone, man or woman, to something that material can replace, it doesn't necessarily work out like that, because we're actually souls who need this soul connection. So at the end of the day, it doesn't work out how we think. Yes, she can, dear. I'm sorry. Mr. trying to stop Celie's destiny to reach her sister Nettie. Correct. So back to that, because we do need to come back. I just have 2 more tests to take, fam. My apologies. 2 more tests to take, and I'll be done this summer semester. Then I could concentrate on the color purple thing. I got some reading to do. But yes, see, Mr. Albert did not want Celie to connect with her sister Nettie, because Nettie represented to a certain degree freedom and liberation of thought, right? Because this is why they didn't want you to read, because reading made you connect with the outside world, right? And that's liberation and freedom of thought. So if I can limit your thought, if I can limit your education, then I limit your growth. So because he felt rejected this is my analogy so far in the book, because Mr. felt rejected by Celie, like the video, thumbs up the video, by the way, because Mr. felt rejected by Celie's advances, and ultimately he was a dejected man because he didn't stand up to his father, and he didn't get to grow. He didn't get the woman that he wanted. He didn't get his love. Then he's going to stop that. Somebody stopped his destiny, so he's looking to stop somebody else's, because perchance now she would have another option besides him. And besides, taking the slap every once in a while, like she said later on in the book. So I would agree. Not only, hey, Mother, what's up? Mother Earth. Not only business, they can do that with a lot of foreign sellouts do when they come to America. A lot of them go out of their way to separate themselves from foundational Black Americans. And that's deep. We went over that on this channel. Yes, Mother Earth. Alienators abuse their victims. And now, as we're having this conversation, sometimes we know something is happening, and another time we don't know why. And when we put it all together, understand it, and heal that injury that allows us to continue to put ourselves in that position, we can see stuff real. You know that song, I can see clear now that the rain is gone. And we're going to see clear. To John's thought, I did some research on here, John. A few years ago, when I don't remember when the ADOS conversation was huge. It was at its height. It was popping. The same way I'm doing this Kevin Samuels research, I did the ADOS research. Now, the conversation between what we're calling Black Americans and those from the Caribbean or other places, it is not, what am I looking to say? It is not that it is not valid that these things are being said or that these things are happening. We have to understand it is not without the meddling of the colonial powers who intentionally benefit from these 2 or these 3 or whomever coming together and having a conversation. So this thought process of Black Americans being, the quote unquote Black Americans being lazy, is coming from the planter class or the aristocracy, who, because they were no longer able to exploit them, they went to go get another source of labor. Because when slavery was over, Europeans began to go back to the Caribbean and import farmers to do a certain work and then send them back to their country. So they would have been having this conversation and implanting this thought that they are lazy, because we have to talk about slavery as a domestic violence institution. And this is why domestic violence is something that I often talk about on this channel. Because if you look at it from that lens, which I've been saying for years, you would understand, if you're not letting me exploit you, then I have to diminish you to my next narcissistic supply, which would be somebody else who's going to let me exploit you. So I have to convince that new person that they are better than you. So when they go to the Caribbean, or when they go to Mexicans, which did a lot of the labor, you have to convince them that, not that you've been abusing the person, not that you've been exploiting the person, but that the person is lazy. So this new supply that comes in, they're like, oh, I'm better than this person because that person is lazy. It's like the woman that comes in after the man has abused. I'm just going to use this situation. After the man has abused the wife for 20 years, he's going to tell that new girlfriend, you better than her, ma. You know where we saw that at? Put a ring on it. One date, Darren came back after one date talking about she don't do that. She don't act like you. And she's like, wait a minute, don't compare me to her. So if we use put a ring on it, which I did the overview on this channel, this man has this woman in a 14-year relationship where he won't do right by her. Goldie Channel, what's going on? He has her in a 14-year relationship. He won't do right by her. Right? She's 14 years. She's not married. They have no children. They're living together. He goes on one date with a new woman and he's thinking, I could see myself with this woman. You the type. That's the same conversation that was being had when you go source labor from other places. You're not saying how you treated the other people. You're not saying how you exploited them. You're hyping up the new source, narcissistic supply, to make them think that they're better than the one that's already here. So we have to let me finish, sweet tea. Let me finish. Let me see. Let me just play Darren for a little bit. Let me break this up a little bit. Let me go get Darren so I could play Darren for y'all real quick. Hold on. Where Darren at? Darren got bars. Here we go.
Usually girls with breasts like that, you know, they bring me in the breast. Let me finish. Usually girls with booty like that, girls shaped like that and look like that, they make the ones who weren't like that look bad. You kissed her? Let me finish. You doing now what she don't do. Don't compare me to her.
You see that? For those who haven't seen that show is hilarious. But 14 years. So let's say in this analogy, and I'm going to play it again. Let's say the foundational Black American is the woman who's been in the relationship for 14 years. She know what she's been through. She know the issues that she suffered, right? And he goes on this one date, or he courts Puerto Rico, or he courts the Caribbean or South America, and convinces them to come and do the work that the other person who's been here won't do. And now the person who's coming in is made to feel as that they are better than those who have already been here. That is my best illustration of what happened with this conversation between mainland and the Caribbean. I played it again because I haven't heard it in a while and it's funny, but let's go.
Let me finish. Usually girls with breasts like that, you know, they bring me in the breast. Let me finish. Usually girls with booty like that, girls shaped like that and look like that, they make the ones who weren't like that look bad. You kissed her? Let me finish. You doing now what she don't do. Don't compare me to her.
Don't compare me to her. John says, Amuna, react to Tariq Nasheed debates Puerto Rican woman who is critical of FBA. Just send me the link, John. Let me see the link. I'll react to it if I see what's going on there. So yeah, that's pretty much my thoughts on that. It's just a self-reflection. Sometimes we look outside at what other people are doing, and then we have to take a stop and look at what we are doing, what we're allowing. And sweet tea like that. Let me finish. We have to take a look at ourselves, what we are doing, how we're playing into these narratives, what we are doing to allow other people to usurp our destiny, our power, how we take it back in a way that we're not necessarily asking, but we are, what is within our rights to do, all of these things, so that we are not always in a victim type of mentality, right? Somebody's doing this to me and I don't know what else to do. One of the things that enslaved peoples used to do is they're like, I bet one of the resistance is I'm gonna break this hole, not the literal hole, but you know, a hole. They used to sabotage the equipment. They used to do all kind of things to slow up production, right? To show that they had some type of agency over their own bodies. I think I have a lot of theories, but one of my theories is go ahead. One of my theories is about CP time, right? One of my theories about CP time is that because our time was demanded, because from sun up to sundown, you didn't have any say over what you did or what was expected of you. We don't like people in today's space and time, for the most part, not all, pressuring us about time, because those are some residuals from being resentful for having to always be on somebody else's time. Somebody coming through, blowing the horn, get up, it's time to go to work. It's time, it's time for you to take a break, sit under the tree, eat some food, get back to work. And so now you even see it. Oh, I have to go to the plantation. We still call it these things because there's some residuals from our ancestors that make us feel a way when somebody's imposing upon us. We make fun of it, but if we really look at some of the leftovers that we have, we can begin to work through all of these things that we see pop up, right? So you don't know. With that said, it's getting dark. The mosquitoes is about to come out. This is just a Solonomics session. John, drop the link in the box with that video. I'll take a look. There's so many things. I wanted to come on here and do some news reports because there's some crazy things that's circulating in the news right now. A lot of, I don't know if it's that you're popping up more because we're talking about this, but a lot of melanated women are being either violated or killed by their mates or somebody who they know or somebody who they're dating. So I have like a compilation of news reports that I want to come and talk about so that we can just be aware and cognizant that yes, words do have power. They affect actions. And if you let people think that certain behavior is okay, then they're not going to have a second thought when they're doing it because they feel as though they're not going to be held accountable because they're given a pass. Thank you so much, Mother Earth. Thank you for coming through. Thank you. Look around. There's a lot of information up here, mostly in relationships, self-development, slavery, because which is dealing with trauma. Those are the type of things I talk about, current events, all so that we can edify ourselves, heal ourselves, and be better people for our children to come, right? So with that said, anybody have any questions or comments, feel free to share at this time. The sun is dropping quick on me. If you have any questions or comments. Yes, dear. Go ahead. Do I have a Cash App? I don't, I do have a Cash App. I'll put my Cash App up there. Because I have a Yummy Cottage Cash App. I'm thinking hard. Hold on 1 second. Wait, I'm coming. I'm on this thing. I'm coming. I think I'm gonna do a separate one from the Yummy Cottage Cash App because that's my business Cash App. But I'm gonna do a different one because right now that's the only one that I have. But you could definitely stay tuned. I'll put that up there so that I could, if anybody wants to share, support, do whatever it is, then you could do it there. In the meantime, you can. Thank you, sweetie. In the meantime, you can go to yummycottage.com if you want some products. If you want to support what I'm doing, you could go to yummycottage.com or you can go to the Soul Center. Let me put this in here. You could go to the Soul Center soulcenter.com where I have all type of, or you can buy a book. Yes, you can check me out on Amazon because I like to give people value for what it is that I'm doing. You know what I'm saying? I'm just weird like that. Yeah, help me. I'm getting there where you can, you know what I mean? But I'm like, I want to give people value. I know I'm giving value right now. Hold on. This is the Yummy Cottage. Oopsie. The Yummy Cottage. This is where we have seasoning, low sodium, so we're not trying to give you high blood pressure. We have the Yummy Cottage, and we also have, hold on 1 second. You can check me out at Amazon, Amuna Yisrael. I have some books up there. I have Solonomics, and this is the course for Solonomics. So if you want to go through the course, I designed this course like 4 years ago, people. We have some courses up there, and it's www. I have to do better at promoting. www.the- This is where you begin to it's the beginning steps of maybe we need therapy, but maybe we want to do some work within ourselves first. thesoulcenter.com. There is if you want to have conversations with me offline. If you need help along the way, you post the link. What happened, John? Just put the link after the video. If you put the link after the video, that will probably work. So the soulcenter.com is the space where I have Solonomics. I have some health courses up there. And I also have some courses that deal with healing, that deal with identifying toxic people in our lives, identifying patterns. It's just really a lot of self-reflective work that I step by step help you hold your hand as you walk through those spaces, right? So this is not just me talking. This is stuff that I've invested my life into. I've done it myself, and I put together a course for you if you're interested. So that's how you can support as it is now, thesoulcenter.com, yummycottage.com, or check me out on Amazon, and I have a few books. I have some fiction books and I have some nonfiction books up there. The Angry Black Woman Syndrome Revisited is one of those fiction books. I mean, nonfiction. In that book, I'll say that before I go. Why I think the conversation is important is because I've been having this conversation. I have videos that are identifying some of the very characteristics that men are complaining about now. She's loud, she may be belligerent, she may be aggressive. And I ask women in that book whether or not some of these assertions are true. Not why they're true or why they may be true, but whether or not they're true, period. And after we acknowledge that, you know, I may be a bit aggressive or I may be have a bit much masculine energy, then we can go on to saying why. So I find it funny when people come and accuse me of stuff. I'm like, y'all don't even know who I am. I was talking about this when it wasn't even cool. When women were coming for me, right? And how I got into the slavery research, go inside because the mosquitoes are coming. How I got into the slavery research is through Angry Black Woman Syndrome Revisited, because as I began to go back through history and take a look at where this trope came from, I realized it came from the minstrel shows. And when I realized it came from the minstrel shows, those were Europeans in whiteface and blackface, who were actually in blackface and in drag. And so that's what brought me to the slavery time. And then from there, it's just been going on and on ever since. It's just been deep. I've loved the journey, but I started there to examine this trope that they use to silence women, melanated women. Oh, you're angry. They do it today in the manosphere. Oh, you're angry. So that means you should be quiet, because angry is not an emotion that you're allowed to have. And so if you're angry, then you should be quiet. That's what you're using to, you know, the signs, to shame whatever his sign thing is. But that's exactly what's being done, right? Here comes the woman. If she's impassioned, if she's pushing back on the narrative, she's angry, and therefore we should not listen to her. That's really what this is, a tool to dismiss. So when I look at all of the caricatures of the way in which they portray melanated women, we all know it's either she's going to be the sapphire, she's going to be which is also the angry Black woman. The sapphire is the angry Black woman. She's going to be the Jezebel, or she's going to be the mammy. And if you look at all of these caricatures from Louise Jefferson to Florence Jefferson, she was the angry Black woman, to Aunt Esther, she was the angry Black woman, to the original Sapphire from Amos and Andy, she was the angry Black woman. Pam was the angry Black woman. Gina was kind of like the Jezebel character. If you look at all of the ways in which melanated women were depicted throughout the 19th century, it has to be one of these tropes. Which one of these boxes are we going to fit her in? And a stereotype, when you look at the history of the stereotype, I said I was going to, didn't I? Florida Evans, right? Florida Evans was the mammy. If you throw everybody, throw somebody up there and let's see which one of these characteristics she falls into. Remember when Michael brought in the Black Jesus? She was like, no, Michael. Why? Because I don't want to go against the system. I want to do everything according to the way they said we should do it, and it will be all well with us. So anybody you could throw up there, they're going to have to fit into one of these stereotypical roles. Because if they don't, the machine, the media doesn't know where to put them. For instance, when, what's her name? Michelle Obama, when she's speaking, they called her angry Black woman. So that's code word for be quiet. And when I really look at the angry Black woman, it was the woman who said, you are abusing me, and I'm no longer going to allow you to do so. Mother Earth said that's what James was so miserable. Because yeah, that's funny. because we have all of these characters. We are more complex than that as humans. But when people want to control us like puppets, like they're Geppetto and we're Pinocchio, they have to have these lines. And what I find, Claire Huxtable was the Sapphire to a certain degree, mixed with the angry black woman. Because if you push back on her, she's going to blaze you with her tongue, right? Which is what Sapphire does. But she also is willing to kind of toe that line. So she wasn't directly one or the other. I think Claire Huxtable was a mix. Like for when what's his name? The husband of the older daughter came, Evan, what was his name again? Elvin. He came with these stereotypical character roles and she blazed him. So if you push her too bad, she's gonna blaze you. But on a normal day, you know, she's the because on the flip side of the angry black woman, I forgot to mention that, is the independent woman. And the independent woman, which is what the men are pushing back against, she's the woman who realizes, like, I can get my own X, Y, and Z. So the reason I'm here is not because I have to be here, is because I want to be here. So Claire Huxtable is the lawyer and Cliff Huxtable is the doctor. So these are the two most prestigious professions that you can have in this Western Hemisphere, and it's to show that she's on equal footing and that she's not in an inferior role. They are partners in this conversation together. But if push comes to shove, she pulls rank, quote unquote, over Cliff Huxtable, right? So if she doesn't want him to eat a certain thing, or if she doesn't want him to do a certain thing, that's when the Sapphire vibration comes out. Yeah, she would get nasty with her mouth. That's facts. John says white supremacists created the angry black person stereotype as black folk were fighting white supremacy and they didn't get you. They don't want to be oppressed. So they said they were naturally mad. Yeah, basically. And that was, if you look up, it's in the book as well. I document all this stuff in the book. But if you look up the minstrel shows in the 1830s, right? The minstrel shows arose because there was abolitionists who were trying to push to the world and the North that slavery was a terrible institution that needed to be abolished. And so the response for the enslavers, the colonizers, were, oh, nah, we're going to go into this entertainment space and we are going to show the happy Negro, okay? And we're going to show the willing yellow gal. There was the yellow gal, which was the mulatto. There was the angry black woman. There was the Sapphire. All of these caricatures, these men were actually cross-dressing. There's one, oh, his name escapes me because now y'all making me go back into research. But there's one who became rich, I mean rich, by dressing up like a woman and putting on blackface. His name is on the tip of my tongue right now, yo. I don't have the book in the car. My point being, it became this industry of commoditizing the image of black women and black people is not new. These people became in what in that day would be filthy rich from doing this type of thing. It's on record, right? And so once they did that thing and they cemented it, a cliche or a stereotype was back in the day when they had the press plate where they had to individually put these letters in. It was more difficult to change your type or your font sets or whatever it is you were saying. So they would make one plate, not multiple plates. They would make one plate when they're on the printing press. That's where the word stereotype comes from. They will make one plate so that they don't have to change it and that they could print countless amounts of whatever the material they want and distribute it. So this is where this thought of stereotype comes from, that it is easily to mass distribute this one thing, then go into the nuances of, you know, it may not be that, it may be this. So when it's a tool of propagandizing a thought to just generalize the person or generalize the people. Truth perspective, what's going on? That's partly why the manosphere can't stand women with, correct. I think women with education present an issue because now you have the information and the experience to challenge the stereotype, and now the person has to go back in and redefine. Right? They have to go back in and reassess, and that takes too much. It's easier to just say you bad, you good. Right? It's easier to control because what are you doing with all this information? You're looking to control. So now if somebody doesn't fit in the box, you're like, well, where do you go? And that takes sometimes too much energy and brain power, especially if you are up to nefarious type activity. The angry, strong, independent black woman trope was created by feminists. No, it was before feminism. That's what I'm trying to say, John. It was before feminism. Maybe I'll go over the book on this channel. According to my research, it was before feminism. That was the woman who said she wasn't going to get beat. That was the woman who spoke back to the master. That was the woman that even though she was enslaved, she would put herself on the front line. And I've read many stories about these type of women. And to the master, who this woman said, I won't let you abuse me. I won't let you molest me. I won't let you do all the things. The master saw her as angry, right? Because of course you're going to see her as angry because you're the one who's trying to violate her. Yep, they had to justify slavery. There were ads everywhere, merchandise and all. Yeah, there are ads, merchandise. There was a man, Christie, I think his name is. His name is coming to me vaguely. His name is coming to me. But this dude would travel around and get paid. I mean, buku dollars. It was a few of them. Buku dollars, dressing up like a whole woman in blackface. And Europeans will go out and say, see, that's where the Sambo came from. That's where all of these caricatures came from, that later on they paid melanated people to now deface themselves. They came, for instance, Amos and Andy was out of the mind of 2 Europeans, right? Amos and Andy, and then eventually when they put it on television, they put blackface on Amos and Andy. But for those, I think 30 plus years that Amos and Andy was running on radio, that was the perspective of the European of what they saw of melanated people. You could check that out. That's facts because I did the research. So those the kind of information that you will find in Angry Black Woman Syndrome Revisited, as well as some self-help information as well. So I said I was gonna go before, but y'all done took me down memory lane. So if you want to support, you can support in those spaces while I work on that Cash App vibration. I like to give value for your value. You know what I mean? So with that said, thank everybody for tuning in. This has been a nice, relaxing chat. You know, let me open the mic real quick. See if anybody want to say anything before I go. Hold on. Where is it? Every device is different, so please bear with me. My apologies. Where's the share information on this device? Every device. I'm over here fumbling. Nope, it's not there. It's not there. Yeah, it's facts upon facts. Sometimes it's just so much in my mind that let me see. Everything I want to do. Oh no, somebody help me. I can't find my link on this one. The other day I couldn't find this. On this one I can't find my link. Now I'm on the cell phone. I can't find the share link. The share link gotta be here. Hold on. The share link, guest. Okay, invite a guest. There we go. Goodness. Everywhere on this app is different. And then now I put more, post it in the chat. The sun is dropping, y'all. I'm about to wrap it up. Okay. I'll give like a few seconds. All right. Do you think they helped stir up the slavery spirit with minstrel shows? Do I think they helped to stir up the slavery spirit? I think the minstrel show, according to my research, was a tool of propagandizing that helped to try to push a narrative that slavery wasn't as bad as the abolitionists made it to seem. Like, we're gonna come here and talk about abolition because it kicked off in England before it kicked off here. And by the 1830s, like we read about the Liberator and all of the people the Europeans as well as melanated people who were avid, like a lot of Equiano, they first did it in England. The first thing they got done was to abolish the slave trade to the Americas, meaning you couldn't get new bodies to bring them to the shores. So that kind of kicked it off. So what the minstrel shows did was they realized that slavery was big business. And if people are now convinced that this is such a terrible institution, we're going to lose this business. And so they set out on a propaganda campaign to kind of counter the stories and the illustration that the abolitionists were sharing. So it was like, Fox News versus CNN type of vibration. You understand what I'm saying? It was like MSNBC versus whoever else. It was these two warring factions, one saying it's really bad and the other one is saying it's not so bad, right? And so the minstrel shows was a form of entertainment. And for many people in the North, where slavery was already abolished, many people in the North did not have direct contact with Southern enslavement. And so they got their viewpoints. Like many people never been to the hood, and they got their understanding of the hood from Boys in the Hood. You understand? So many people got their understanding of slavery from these minstrel shows. And so the purpose of it was to try to dissuade people from thinking that slaves were unhappy and that the institution was cruel. And so they popularized, eating watermelon and dancing sambos and all of these different caricatures to try to calm the people down a little bit, because it was getting rowdy. It was getting rowdy. I just did a paper on Madam C.J. Walker. It's funny you brought her up. And she was interesting. She was interesting. Yeah, Madam C.J. Walker was interesting. I just did a short paper on her. There was a lot going on. There was people at a time that didn't have, and Ida B. Wells, there's people who didn't have education and people who did have education. So I'm not of the thought process or the school of thought it has to be either or, because the reality is it was so complex that there were those who were of the educated class and those who were not, existing simultaneously. It's like there are those people today who know all about the stock market and those who do not. You feel me? And we're all living in 2021. There are those people who know about how to trade Bitcoin and those who do not. And we're all living in 2021. So what it was in the time of enslavement, there was people who know how to read and navigate, and there were those who did not. Not saying that she can be stupid, but let's be real. If men see women that's homeless but extremely physically attractive, no mental or emotional issues, we will still marry them. Very interesting. We'll have to come back and talk about that. We'll have to come back and talk about that. What men are expecting versus what women are expecting. Truthful perspective. Mind control in the early days, even from general, of course. And look up the history of the minstrel shows. It was about propagandizing a thought, because they were seeking to control the minds of the people who were like, yo, this is wrong, we got to get rid of it. I have books that talk about people on the continent, melanated people, not wanting to get rid of slavery and going on record and saying, if we get rid of this institution, it's going to cut into our bottom line. So there were many people, mass industries are worth what will be equivalent to millions and billions of dollars today, who were invested in not getting rid of the institution of slavery. It funded insurance, boat building, transport, clothes. It wasn't just, picking cotton. Tobacco, leather, or textile industry, everything you could possibly imagine was linked to enslavement, because a lot of banking industries, people were used as collateral. They were collateral for mortgages. How many slaves you had allowed you to get loans. You can borrow against it. Like today, you go to a bank, they say, what kind of collateral? Back in the day, you go to the bank, your collateral was John and Toby. Okay, don't get me down this road, y'all. I gotta go, because this is my lane. This is very interesting to me to see how they use melanated bodies to enrich themselves, and at the same time said that those melanated bodies did not have the right to protest or speak up against that oppression, right? And so we have to just be knowledgeable. It's deep. It's deep. It's deep. It's deep. So Amazon in the not in the wilderness, and Amazon, the yummycottage.com, or you want to build up your own self, then it's the-soul-center.com. So we'll be back. Drop your thoughts underneath the box. Thank you for rocking with me. I'm gonna study for my test tomorrow, and then when I pass all my tests, we could turn up. Okay. All right, then. Everybody have a blessed day.